Welcome back to the Stray Iceberg series that I'm doing. And sorry that if it took more than a week because of Christmas and New Year's. I had to wait to record it, but I'm back now with part 3. And yes, this is part 3. As it's not in the title because I would want you to watch this one first, and then you can check out part 1 and 2, as this is almost half the iceberg and is better in terms of production and quality than part 1 and 2. Well, I said this will be double the length of the first two in my last video, but I guess I was wrong, because it wasn't that hard to explain the last layers. Another thing is that I tried to be creative, so instead of percentage in the bottom corner, it would be images of the stray cat. So here are the images from 100 to 0. So it is pretty easy to understand what I know the topics, but some of them I don't know, but with all that out of the way, let's get started. Alright, so this is the last topic of layer 5. I forgot to cover it in my last video, so I'm gonna do it now. Humans survive the apocalypse is saying that what if the humans are alive and are basically just living outside the walled cities and are living their lives and just basically forgot about the companions. Personally, I don't believe it because it just makes no sense that they just left the robots down there. And also this topic relates to other topics coming up and that we'll get into in layer 6. The Stray was genetically modified. If you watch part 2 to my Stray series, I talk about how Stray was really smart and can understand B12 perfectly and follow what B12 says perfectly. This means that Stray could be genetically modified in the past, before the game even takes place, like when he was a kitten. For example, he could have like a chip implanted in his brain, or I don't know, I'm just coming up with ideas on how he could be genetically modified to be as smart as he is. Or the more likely is that he really is just a smart cat, but we would touch on this later in the video. The scientists experimented on cats. This is just a what if question because there is no evidence that I could find to back this claim up, so I guess it's just saying that the scientist or B12 was experimenting on cats or other small animals. Again, I couldn't find anything on this, so let's just move on. The cat family has a human caretaker. Alright, this is talking about how the cat family we see in the beginning of the game and how they might have a human caretaker somewhere to take care of them. Also, this relates to humans surviving the apocalypse because if the humans survive the apocalypse, then they must or could have a human to take care of them. The evidence is just speculation, like how are the cats healthy and where did they get the food at? Well, they could live without humans, but it's just better to think that they have a human caretaker somewhere that protects them and feeds them. But it's just a theory to think about. Player translated the robot text. Alright, this will take a long time to explain, so just prepare yourselves. This is talking about how there's a community for Stray, and what to do is to translate the robot text found around the city, basically signs and newspapers to English. Like, here's many examples of what the signs and newspapers say when translated, so we know what the robots talk about and write about. While this probably takes hours to translate and I don't know how they do it, but they found the alphabet of the robot language and decoded it into English and used that decoded alphabet to decipher the signs and newspapers around the map. But they realized that some letters can't be deciphered, so they found that there are 3 different languages used in the game. While the first is Finnish and the second one isn't, and the third isn't too. And I don't know if they finished the rest, as these posts were months ago, and I can't find any updates on it, but nonetheless, it's cool to see that they did this to uncover the full language of the robots. And also, I found this information on the Stray Reddit page. The Balthazar integrated with machines. Alright, this is a quick one, so let's get it started. The Balthazar is a character we meet after we escape the sewers. When you first meet him, he's connected to the machines, which he can communicate to different parts of the map. Using the software he's connected to, he can basically communicate to anywhere in the map if it's connected to his frequency. He is basically like a radio. And with that, let's go on to layer 7. City 99 was created as a landfill by Neko Corporation. Like I said in my last video, I compared Neko to By and Large from Wall-E. as in, by and large, basically trashed Earth with its trash, and they created these Wall-E robots to clean the trash. And just like that, Neko basically did the same thing, as they trashed the city, but they created a bacteria that would eat the trash, but that bacteria eventually led to them basically making the Zerks, which terrorized the robots in the city. The apocalypse never happened. This should be a quick one because I think this theory is pretty dumb, because if the apocalypse never happened, then that means the humans are alive and are still up there, just left the robots down here or the companions to themselves, and never thought to open the other walled cities in the area. And that could mean that Stray has a human caretaker, but be honest, I don't believe in it. Zerks assimilates robot AI. Well, this is just a theory that the Zerks take the robot AI from them, and so they are not alive anymore. As you see, robots are laying down dead, but wouldn't the robot be gone and not there if the Zerks eat them? Or they take over the robot AI and are the robot, and that's why the robots are scared of Zerks. Not from being eaten, but from being taken away from their body. Well, let me explain this theory first. The Zerks supposedly eat metal, but like I said before, their bodies are still laying on the ground when they're dead, when the Zerks are supposed to eat the metal. And also, sometimes the Zerks don't eat metal in front of them, like when there's a gate in front of them or when they're in a cage. For example, when we reach the doc's house, there are Zerks in the cage, so why can't the Zerks eat through the cage to get to the dock? Well, we'll probably never know the answer to this question, but like I said before, this is just a theory. Zerks evolved as intended by Neko Corporation. Again, this is just a what if question. They are saying that Neko Corporation, instead of making a bacteria that would eat trash, they wanted it to grow into what we know as Zerks. But this makes no sense, as why would they do this when there's no motive for them to do it? But like I said before, we won't know the answer for these questions. But I think Neko Corporation wanted to make a bacteria to eat the trash, but eventually the bacteria evolved into Zerks after millions of years. Robot sentience was just a software update from the outside. This plays off the human survived the apocalypse theory, as if the humans survived, they would be outside the walled cities, and let's just say they left the companions in the walled city, and then for some reason the humans decided to make a software update in the robots to make them sentient and live without knowing what happened to the humans. Again, this has no evidence to support it, as the robots have met the humans before, as seen in this mural. But I guess it's a cool theory that means they are sentient from our software update. Or humans did this update before they all went extinct to keep some form of life alive on this planet. Well, again, this is something to think about. Alright, as we approach the last layer to this iceberg, I just want to say, it was really fun for me to do this straight iceberg, and it really helped me learn to edit and helped me get comfortable talking to a mic better. And I can't wait for my other content after the straight iceberg is done. So with that being said, let's get into this last layer. Every copy of Stray is personalized. So basically this is basically a meme for icebergs, as almost every iceberg that covers like a game or anything has this topic in it somewhere. So yeah, that's all this is. So next topic. Outside the wall is another layer of City 99. This is talking about how Walled City 99 is a city that we are in the game, as this means that behind the wall is another city, probably like this. So here is a drawing of what this topic is talking about. So here is the circle that we are in, which is Walled City 99, and here is another circle in the ground, being a different city like City 100 or 98, and in between those are these gaps that we see in the beginning of the game, and this is where the cat family live. So I'm pretty sure this is what it's talking about, but I don't really know what this means. So on to the next topic. Human IQ cats. This plays into the idea that the cats have an IQ of a human, and this probably makes sense, as I said before in the last video and a couple of minutes ago. Stray the cat is really smart, as we touch on the idea of the cat as just smart to the cat being genetically modified, because it makes no sense that a cat can understand orders from B12. Like when B12 said to go to the orange sign to find the Momo. Stray knows what B12 said, so he goes to the orange sign, which I need to remind you is many stories up, and there are many examples of Stray being extremely smart for being a cat. Well, as I said many times, I guess Stray is just really smart. Humans never lived in City 99. This means that if the humans never lived in City 99, again, this is just a theory that I don't believe in because there are no evidence to support this, and also, there are just some evidence to disprove this theory, like the scientists living in the city before him transferring his consciousness into B12. Another is that Neko Corporation being a Midtown city, as they are the ones that made the Zerks in the first place. While it is a cool theory, it just doesn't make sense to me, unless there is evidence out there that I didn't find that does support this claim. On to the next one. Each cat has 3 different names. Well, I don't know what it means when it says each cat has 3 different names, but I will just talk about the 4 different cats that went to making the cats more realistic in the game. As I did talk about a little in the first part, but it wasn't so good, so let's get started. The first cat is Murtaugh. I probably said that really wrong, but anyways, keep going. Which is the cat that got the inspiration for the design for the orange cat in the game, Stray. Fun fact about Murtaugh is that he is the Blue 12 Studios producers' Vive and Kula's cat, which was also a Stray before they got him. The second cat is Oscar, who is the cat that did the movement for the cats in the game, and the other 2 are June and Lala. While Oscar was the animator's cat to get the movements right for cats in the game, June was also in the workspace to get the movements right and more realistic in the game. And the final cat is Lala, who voiced all the cats in the game, like the meows and hisses and the other sounds cat makes. So that is everything about the cats that went to making the game. On to the next one. Stray in the Half-Life universe. So I never played Half-Life, so I had to resort to Reddit to see if anyone thought of this idea. Well, I did find some posts on this. Most people replied with jokes about it just because it's a sci-fi game, it has to relate to Half-Life. And others replied saying that the only similarities they saw are that the head crabs from Half-Life look like the Zerks from Stray. Which they do, but most replies I see, they say just because it looks similar doesn't mean it's in the same universe as Half-Life. So after I researched this or looked at Reddit for a couple of minutes, I conclude that Stray is in its own universe. Alright, after 2 weeks I finally finished the Stray Iceberg. And like I said before, this was really fun for me to make, and I will continue to do YouTube and make videos at least once a week, and hopefully I will get better with time and crack that 100 subs mark. And with that, I hope you guys like this video and subscribe, and also Happy New Year to everyone who watched this video, and see ya.